All right, let's talk about the flower of life. And the reason I want to bring up the flower of life, you never force a flower to flower, right? But when you look at everybody is the walking flower of life. Everybody. That's what you're looking at, is the flower of life. Okay? You look at the Vesica Pisces. People talk about that. It looks like the womb, right? Everybody is a portal. Everybody. This is why even in business, when you network with somebody, they may link you to somebody else. They may put you onto something that you didn't know you were able to do, right? So everybody's like a walking portal. I made a video on this particular topic that is very, very good. And I'm going to link it to this video because I think that if you watch that video, it would actually open your mind to how when you look at people outside of you, they are actually walking portals. And I'm going to link it in this video. But here, check this out. Suppose that if you're going to do it in an adversarial way, where you're going to be masculine, but in an adversarial way, okay? When you look at it as far as you versing somebody else, suppose that I'm in the octagon, I study my opponent, I'm going to practice, because everything in life is about energy, frequency, vibration. You have a face-off with somebody, you're measuring that person's energy. There's a face-off for a reason. It's energy versus energy, right? Because there's no touch. You're not allowed to touch each other. So it's energy versus energy. Who's going to break a stare when you stare the opponent down? The other person, it doesn't matter. They may be bigger than the smaller person, but this person's energy may be so big that it'll have this person second guessing if they could even beat this opponent. That's how you know. Even Mike Tyson said the moment that they crack the stare, he already is in them. They're already broken, right? That's mental warfare even happens in the art of words. Words become swords. Suppose that during the press conference, right, these people now start trash talking each other and one can trash talk the other and it gets the people engaged. That also gets into the opponent's head because that person becomes emotional, right? So that's now further cracking into that, opening up that flower, right? And I'm talking about it in an adversarial way. Now look at this. You're in the fight now. Suppose the key is to knock the opponent out or get him in a submission. The only way you find the submission, if you're trying to submit the individual, is if you find an opening. Again, open the flower of life even in submission. Let's say in the fight, if there's a striking game. What do? You find a perfect sequence, a good combination, like a lock. To get into a lock, you would have to know what the combination is, right? Numbers, it's a numbers game, right? So if you study the right sequence, because you studied your opponent, you're going to know the right combinations. You may open up their guard and boom, you knock them out. You just opened up the opponent's guard, right? Now, suppose that it's in a different way. You want a chick to open up to you. What do? You can use persuasion. You can use certain words. You can use your energy, a man I'm talking about, and get a girl to open up to you, right? Or even open her legs, whatever it may be. And a woman is negative energy. Look at animals. Animals are part of the animal kingdom. Women and kids and animals, I'm talking about like cats, for example, is all part of negative energy. The only thing that's positive energy is the man. Okay? And it's not to say that the man is better than anything I just mentioned as far as negative energy. It's a chemistry. Because people actually use dogs in ways that humans can't do. Like, how do you use dogs to sniff out drugs? You use dogs to basically go hunting. You use dogs for many different things, even for companion, right? Men have women as companions. Basically the perfect complement to man. But we're getting into basically the extremities of how energy, frequency, and vibration works. Don't associate yourself with gender, okay? Because this is just energy I'm talking about. But even though in physical form, you can see how it works. Because this is how religion even started. They used all that symbolism and made it into religion and showed you anthropomorphized versions of these things, and then you're acting them out. You're playing them out. Because you're people in general, whether it's men or women, they're part of feminine energy because they're not aware of what they're doing in the sheep-like herd mentality or the worship gene that Billy Carson talks about. They tend to follow that. You know what I'm saying? Because they say that that's the perfection of what a human should be. Okay? But anyway, when you look at cats, look at my cats. They didn't trust me at first, right? They didn't trust me at first. How did I get the cats to open up to me? I had to constantly go outside, show them that I'm not a threat, right? Give them certain blinks. I had to calm my breathing down, show them that I'm not a threat, give them food, show them that I'm trying to take care of them. But what happened? It's repetition, right? Repetition. What is that? That's frequent. How frequent? That's a frequency. How frequent did I do that, right? And what was my vibe when I went outside? And animals sense all this. So I started to feed my cats. I started to feed the animals. Eventually they started to soften up and warm up to me, right? What is that warming up thing? That's masculine. The warmth is warmer. Cooler is alkaline. That's the carbon side of chemistry. You see how all these things get integrated? It's a language. Energy, it's all a dance. Numbers. If you're in business, you project numbers. You take care of, let's say if you're projecting sales, you're basically setting a blueprint on a business. All that is numbers. Is you're trying to grow your business. So it's the same way here with the animals, the plants. And here's the funny thing, I'm gonna get into the plants in a second, but when it comes to the animals, now the animals soften up to you. Now they start to, and this is basically true unconditional love, right? Because a cat or a dog or a bird or none of these things can lie to you. So you can always say, and that's why I always mention that God is in the animal kingdom. God is in the lower animalistic natures. We bring that animalistic energy, balance it up, because an animal that's, let's say an animal that's in fear, you see that they tend to attack, they tend to bark. The animals in fear are the ones that tend to look the most aggressive. They tend to fluff themselves up also because they want to intimidate. You can see this in nature with plants and whatnot, right? Which I'm going to get into in a second. But an animal that's secure in itself, it tends to walk around confident and not in any way trying to intimidate the other animals. They walk around confident because they're secure in themselves. An insecure animal tends to be insecure and be the loudest one. All right. So that's why when you look at animals, even if they're feral, they're wild, you notice that their demeanor will change even upon castrating them. Let's say if you neuter them or spay them, their demeanor completely changes because you took out that wild instinct away from them. And we as humans have that in us still. But we have to know how to manage that. It's not to get rid of it. We're not gonna cut our balls off or go, spay a woman. Like spay meaning like get, the same. I'm using the same examples as animals. Why? This energy. The reason we have dominion over the animal kingdom is that we know we have the conscious and awareness. We have the rational thinking mind to be able to bring this energy, all right, and not let it take over us, and bring it up as the most powerful energy source to connect to Christ consciousness. In other words, do unto others as we will not want done unto us, not because we're in fear of us not going to heaven, but because we truly see each other as one. We're able to have a metaphysical experience, and I'm not talking about spiritual only, I'm talking about metaphysical experience using the laws of logic. Okay, so if I look at somebody outside of me, I know that's a mirror reflection of me because I'm using the laws of logic, and I know that on a quantum level there is no separation between me and that individual because I was able to slow my vibes down to the point where I manage my breathing and I get into a meditative state where I was actually able to peek into the realm where I see that this is nothing but a mirror reflection of something that I'm projecting within me, and I'm basically living what I am. So what I am is what I see. And if I start pointing fingers, I'm really demonizing myself. If I hurt somebody else, I'm actually really hurting myself. The animals are there because they're all mirror reflections of what you are. Cats somehow appeared in my life. I didn't like cats at first. In fact, I was allergic to cats. And then I saw, and I had a soft spot for them for some reason. I saw that they were all like hurting each other and they were all fucking each other up and shit. And I had them around me. I saw kittens that were like literally abandoned in the middle of my garden because the mom cat didn't take care of them. And I actually ended up taking care of like 5 or 6 litters. I was so allergic to cats that I went to bed every night with like, and I don't suffer of asthma, but I felt like I was dying for like at least 3 months. But what I kept doing was taking herbs from my garden, making my teas, taking warm showers. I just kept enduring it. Now I can sleep with a cat in my face. The allergies went away, right? So what doesn't kill you technically makes you stronger. It's like that with everything else, right? But we're always trying to, get ourselves away from these things when in actuality, it's all integration, when you integrate, sometimes you may go through hell. I went through hell with overcoming those allergies. And that's just on that light level. What about overcoming the evil natures of yourself? That's going to seem like hell. If you have a dangerous pathogen in your body will make you feel like you're going to go through hell by raising the temperature, fever, vomiting, mucus, diarrhea. Right? So what do? You're supposed to hydrate properly. That's what the doctors tell you to do. Everybody who goes to the hospitals, regardless of whatever they go in for, they always plug them to an IV. Why? Because everybody's condition is always going to be acidic, regardless of what it is that they're going in there for. Whatever emergencies they have, it's all acidosis. So they try to balance out the chemistry by putting liquid IVs on you. That's why everybody gets plugged to an IV when they go to a hospital. They got a condition or whatever it may be. And when you look at this as chemistry, then even like me, I'm a salesman in business. You can see how to play with energy. You read body language. You read facial expressions. Let's say if it's a couple, who do you speak to? You know what I'm saying? They always say to sell to the woman. Why? It's not that the woman's in charge, right? But think about this though. The man, when they say, and I'll make another video on this, happy wife, happy life. I'm going to make a video on to why that saying is even why that saying is, okay? Because if you really want to look at it from the deepest core thing, I made a video on black magic. So I want you to go look at that video. I'm going to tie that video to this video so you can see that what I spoke on when it came down to black magic, which is basically if you have the negative natures intact, is no, because if you, let's say, are doing anything as far as negative natures go, and you see things that are terrorizing you, it's just showing you what you are. You know, your job is just to overcome that fear. Now, inaction times inaction, phallus times a phallus. Suppose you have two gay men. Now I'm going to look at it from a different perspective instead of like man made by God. And anything man made, by the way, is not in one. If man is not aligned with God, anything man made is no different than just looking at it as a 1 times 1 would equal 2. 1 times 1 equals 2. Okay? But when you see man and a man, they can never reproduce. Okay? So you're always going to look at it as is, if you're looking at it from energy times energy, then what can you get out of that? You get what I'm saying? There's always going to be friction. In fact, in order for them to be able to even satisfy themselves, they would have to use artificial means like lube and shit. You get what I'm saying? Because you're not even going into a portal that was meant for entrances. It was meant for exits. You know what I'm saying? Only. And for women, you have that portal, which is made for entrances to receive, but it's also meant to birth out. So you got that expansion contraction. Okay? So when you look at women, same thing. You have 0 times 0 is 0. Okay? Now, you can't, there's friction there, but it's not only just from the sexual natures. Sometimes you'll have more problems in relationships between two women because of their feminine energies clashing. It's like catty natures, catty energy. Okay? So there tends to be friction there. So when you look at action times inaction, I already said it in my previous video. If I make an action, make a video, you make a video, I watch a video, I react to a video. If I debate somebody, the results of that will be one debate and a video for people to watch. But that the individuals were revolving their energy around one event or one result. The result is the reaction. But the reaction, didn't come, let's say, from, because there's really, if you really think about it, we're creating things as we go along, like through the mind making it real. But your body itself is an instrument of the mind. When you look at everything and it's 99.9999% empty space, you're part of that 99.9999 empty space, right? So we're just reading energy here. Anyway, I hope I made myself clear with that. When I talked about the change, the cambio, You notice how if you want something in your life, it says you have to change your mind, or you have to, let's say if you want the universe to give you a new relationship, a new partner, right? What's the exchange for that? You would have to actually give up yourself, because if you don't give up yourself, you don't surrender to self, which is basically the feminine nature of yourself, surrendering to the masculine, which you're conscious aware of now, conscious aware of the negative natures of yourself. That's the true surrender to the masculine. So when you surrender yourself to your consciousness, in exchange, you'll attract a different person. Because if not, you'll attract the same person in another body. The same negative person you had before. Because you are what you eat. And what you eat becomes you. So what are you eating? What are you processing? What are you eliminating? What are you holding on to? When you hold on to things, like if the body can't take a shit, you may have indigestion, you have a lot of uncomfortable feelings, you even create diseases, stagnation. It's energy needs to move. Everything that doesn't move tends to rot, putrefy. Now think about this though, and I'm going to leave it with this. Start breathing better. Breathe properly. Detox the body and breathe. Why? Why when you get pulled over by a cop, they tell you to breathe on a breathalyzer? Because they want to measure the amount of alcohol that you intoxicated with yourself with through alcohol, right? Now alcohol's got alcohol, you could cleanse alcohol. That's why when you got a cut, they put alcohol in it to basically neutralize infections, right? But here's the thing though. When you have food that you're eating and it's undigested and let's say your kidneys and adrenals are not functioning properly because you're not breathing properly, or because you're eating foods that the body can't even process, it converts to alcohols, ammonia, nitrogenous waste. And what do you think is happening there? You got toxins in your body. You actually slightly drunk. That's why you do things and you're not even aware of the things you do sometimes. No different than if you got intoxicated. Let's look at it on an extreme level. When you get pissed drunk, you may do things and you don't even remember the next day. You end up regretting what you did. So sometimes here, you end up getting emotional because it's an exacerbator. So even like when you drink and you're depressed, you may actually end up super depressed at the end of the night, even crying and sobbing and whatnot. So that's why whenever you, and I'll make a separate video on this, going deep into this, even like hangovers and whatnot. But when you eat certain foods, okay, you're eating the energy of an animal that went through a certain condition. If you're eating dead foods, you're listening to information. Let's say you're just not aware and you just become an inflammatory person when you're angry, stressed and all that. That's why they tell you stress causes diseases too. But the fact that you're eating distorted chemistry and you got an inflammatory behavior, all these things is a recipe for disaster. That's why when you are, let's say, a joyous person, but you eat garbage, that's why these people tend to live for a long period of time. They're just neutralizing chemistry. The reason I'm bringing all this up is because we're talking about chemistry here. As far as language being a number, action times an action, does it always equal a reaction? No. And these aren't even numbers to begin with. It depends on the context you want to paint this picture from, you know? So I think that's all I wanted to cover. So like, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We will talk soon.